දවස් 30ක්ම unlimited Netflix බලන්න. unlimited data pack එකක් මුළු පවුලටම unlimited fun එකක් අරගන්න. අදම active කරගන්න.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, limit your visits. Secretary to the Ministry of Pandemics and COVID-19 Prevention issues a plea to Colombo residents to limit visits during Christmas.
There's no point in shutting down the country altogether and making livelihood difficult for people on the name of disease control. If you can stay in the Western Province without going to your own areas, please do so.
Friends and foes. Riyaj Badiuddin tells the Easter Commission that Cinnamon Grand bomber was only a passing acquaintance and not a friend. Self-sufficiency at work. Central bank data shows a shrinking of the trade deficit to $514 million in October 2020. Watch what you buy. The TRCSL warns the public that unapproved mobile devices with a SIM will be disconnected. All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Monday, the 14th of December, 2020.
Nava Sunlight Sakura. Then Dikukal Pavatina Sakura Mal Suandin.
Try out our new product range. Celebrate and feel the difference with Bairaha.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammike Kanayaka. Now let's start with your local stories. Now, Secretary to the Ministry of Primary Health Services, Pandemics and COVID Prevention, Dr. Amal Harsha De Silva says that there is little point in locking the entire country down in the name of disease control. He insists that the health authorities understand the importance of the economy and the people's lives moving forward, while the pandemic control measures are implemented simultaneously. There were 3 new COVID-19 related deaths yesterday, and Dr. De Silva also urged the people in the Western Province to also stay put during the holidays if possible.
139 COVID-19 fatalities have been reported from the country since the onset of the second wave of COVID-19. It is a considerable jump from the number of fatalities from the first wave, which was just 13 until October this year. With 3 more COVID-19 deaths being confirmed yesterday, Sri Lanka's coronavirus death toll went up to 152. All 3 victims were above the age of 60. According to the Department of Government Information, all 3 patients had died due to COVID pneumonia and heart attacks, with the exception of 1 victim who had suffered from septicemia. Despite the deaths being confirmed yesterday, the victims had all succumbed on the 12th of December. In the meantime, with the detection of 655 COVID-19 infections yesterday, the country's overall number of active coronavirus cases now stand at 8,845. 503 of yesterday's infections were identified as persons linked with the Palayagoda cluster, while the remaining 147 are attributed to the prisons cluster. The Colombo district once again accounted for the highest number of cases from yesterday's infections with 444, while the Gampar district recorded 75 cases. In addition, 41 cases were reported from the Ampara district, 22 were reported from Kurunegala, 19 from Kaluthara, 5 from Ratnapura, 4 from Manuradhapura and Matale, 3 from Puttalam, while 2 cases were confirmed from Mathura. 1 infection each was confirmed from the districts of Kandy, Bariklo, Trincomalee and Monoragala. Yesterday's case tally also includes 27 infected persons whose residence could not be confirmed. Meanwhile, 5 Sri Lankan expatriates were also confirmed with the virus yesterday.
The government has established a new ministry headed by Madam Sudashini Fernandapulle, a specialist doctor herself as the minister in charge of the primary health care, epidemics and COVID-19 control. Therefore, what we have done is that we have discussed with all the stakeholders in healthcare in trying to see as to what the operation has been all this time. There has been credible attention by the government and the health services so far, and What we are trying to look at is that with the changing situation, what are the extra actions that we should take in time to come, and then to make the operation more people friendlier as far as our operations are concerned. And then we also highlight that the economy of the country should run along with the control of the disease. There is no point in shutting down the country altogether and making livelihood difficult for people on the name of disease control to that extent. Therefore, what we are trying to do is to look at certain areas which are very vulnerable and then go and attend to those areas only, and then let the common economy go in the country as much as possible. That's why, amidst of all these issues, we have recommended to start the schools, of course with strict guidelines, and then also the economy to run along with COVID.
As things stand, Sri Lanka's overall number of coronavirus recoveries stands at 24,304, with 516 patients being given the all clear from the virus today. In the meantime, the number of persons currently under observation is 444. With the festive season approaching, health authorities are counting on public support to mitigate the spread of COVID-19, while also urging those in the western province to stay put without travelling to outstations if possible.
If we just shut the country down, we don't need support of many except for the armed forces. We know that many countries in the world, there are large amounts of people dying in their countries. But Sri Lanka, fortunately, we have not seen that type of epidemic of deaths. But that should not make us too complacent. But we are not superhuman beings. The actions that we have taken has prevented that amount of deaths. The government cannot do it without the public support. Therefore, I think what we need is public support, especially in this festive season. Make sure that you don't get the disease and you don't give it to somebody else. If you can stay in the western province without going to your own areas comfortably, please do so. Like last festive season, after the festive season, we had so many pockets coming out from different parts of the country because people carried the virus along with them to those areas.
Safeguard hand sanitizer නවතම නිෂ්පාදන පෙළ නීරෝගිමත් දිවයකට ලංකාවේ පළමු වරට හඳුන්වා දෙන මැලිබන් වෙජි ක්‍රැකර්
Crunchy veggie.
Now, investigations conducted by the police reveal that the recent 200-kilogram haul of drugs found in Toduava involves a Christian pastor. It was also revealed that the racket had been conducted with the aid of 2 foreign nationals and the support of deceased criminal gang member Sottiupali's son-in-law.
A haul of drugs including 100 kilograms of crystal methamphetamine, commonly known as ice, and 100 kilograms of heroin was seized by the Excise Department on the 6th of December from the area of Todova in Maravela. It turned out to be the biggest drug bust ever conducted by the Excise Department. Subsequent investigations conducted by the Police Crimes Bureau of the Kalaniya Division revealed that this racket had been operated by a Christian pastor. He was then arrested by police while hiding in Manor yesterday. Investigations revealed that the suspect had been in prison over people smuggling via sea routes. It was also revealed that he had planned this drug operation with a Maldivian racketeer named Ibrahim, who he met in prison, and a Pakistani national. What's more, the assistant of deceased criminal gang member Sottiupali's son-in-law, Battarumulle Sanju, had been obtained for the operation. The pastor had then dispatched a boat with several individuals to transport the haul of drugs via sea. However, after receiving the haul, the individuals dispatched with the boat had secretly informed about the racket to the Excise Department and the Navy. Unaware of this, Battarumulle Sanju had sent 4 members of his gang to accept the drugs haul. The police officers of the Excise Department then apprehended the 4 suspects. However, they had not attempted to apprehend the dispatch boat or the people who accompanied it. Those who were in the boat are currently in hiding. But a son of one of the absconding suspects had told investigating officers his father informed him that the excise officers who came on the relevant duty had removed 60 kilograms of heroin from the haul and replaced it with a mixture of sawdust. As such, the seized drugs are sent to the analyst to ascertain whether it contains sawdust. Further investigations by the police have revealed that the Pakistani national and the Maldivian named Ibrahim, who conducted the operation, had used the funds generated through the drug racket for extremist terrorist activities in Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, the police searched a house owned by one of the absconding suspects who was involved in the drugs delivery boat. By the time his house in the area of Amankandavila in Chilla was searched, its occupants had already fled.
Now, the Presidential Commission of Inquiry investigating the Easter Sunday attacks heard evidence from former Minister of Posts and Muslim Religious Affairs, M.H.A. Halim, with regards to the discovery of swords at a mosque in Slave Island following the deadly attacks. The former minister claimed that the large number of what he termed knives were for trading purposes, according to inquiries he had made following their detection. Meanwhile, Riaj Badiuddin, the brother of former Minister Rishad Badiuddin, was questioned over his links to Cinnamon Grand bomber Insaf Ahmed at the Commission today. Badiuddin claimed to have had only a passing acquaintance with the bomber and not having maintained a close friendship with him before the bombings.
Former Minister of Posts and Muslim Religious Affairs MHA Halim appeared before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry investigating the Easter Sunday attacks today. Further, several swords that were discovered hidden at a mosque in Slave Island following the attacks were presented as evidence to the Commission. Commencing his questioning, the State Council at the Commission asked the former minister, "Do you own a residence with a large garden?" Following the witness's response in the affirmative, the State Council then asked him, "Can you tell us what method do you use when mowing your lawn?" The former minister replied, "My gardening staff use a grass trimmer for that purpose." The State Council then asked the witness, "Have you ever seen swords being used?" The witness responded, "Are you referring to swords and knives? I have questions regarding how they are identified." The State Council then asked the witness, "Can you first tell me what swords are used for?" The former minister replied, "To my knowledge, swords were used during the time of the kings in warfare." Continuing his cross-examination, the State Council asked the witness, "Could we not use swords to wage warfare even today?" Following this, the State Council then played a recording of a media briefing that was telecast on the AdaDerana news channel on April 30th, 2019. After watching the media briefing, the witness stated, "I never mentioned the word sword at this media briefing. When media personnel asked me about how swords were discovered, I responded thinking they were referring to garden sites, which we used to clear our burial grounds." To this, the chairman of the commission asked the witness, "Are you trying to imply that those swords were to be used for some other purposes?" The former minister replied, "I honestly do not know the difference between a sword and a machete." Following his reply, the chairman of the commission addressed the witness saying, "Zaran's brother Rilwan and another cell member Milhan brought down a large quantity of swords to this country and sent them to Beruwala via another individual. A total of 50 swords were sent to a mosque in Colombo. Did you make that statement not knowing that the Maulavi of that mosque was arrested in connection with this?" The former minister replied, "I inquired into the discovery of the swords that were stored in the mosque. What I found out was that they were knives that were brought for trading purposes." To this, the State Council stated, "You are repeating what you have said previously." The witness replied, "I don't know if swords were brought down from abroad. However, there is nothing wrong in what I said. Machetes and other utensils are stored in mosques for the purposes of clearing undergrowth." Following this, Riaj Badiuddin, the brother of former Minister Rishad Badiuddin, was summoned before the Commission today to record his testimony. At the outset, the State Council asked the witness, "Was it not Insaf Ahmed who attacked the Cinnamon Grand Hotel during the Easter Sunday attacks on April 21st, 2019? In response, Badiuddin stated, "Yes, I saw this on television." The State Council then asked the witness, "Who was Insaf Ahmed married to?" The witness replied, "He was married to the daughter of Alauddin, a distant relative of mine. I attended their wedding, which is how I got to know him." The State Council then asked him, "After the wedding, did you keep in touch with him by telephone or did you maintain a friendship with him?" The witness replied, "Although I kept in touch with him by phone, I didn't consider him a friend." The State Council then asked the witness, "By April 21st, 2019, were you aware that Insaf Ahmed operated a copper factory?" To this, Badiuddin replied, "I found out about this in February 2019. He wanted to meet my brother Rishad Badiuddin to discuss an export issue. On another day when I was at the ministry, he called me. When I told him that I was at the ministry, he came to meet me. When he arrived, he asked me why my brother was not giving him an appointment. He told me that he would file a case against him." To this, the chairman of the commission asked the witness, "How did Insaf Ahmed get your mobile phone number?" The witness replied, "I don't know." The commission chairman then asked the witness, "How many phone calls were made between you and Insaf Ahmed?" The witness replied, "The CID says that 7 phone calls were made. However, none of them were initiated by me. In 2019, I never made any phone calls to him. These calls must have been made before that." The chairman of the commission then asked the witness, "Did you and Insaf Ahmed ever meet at a hotel in Colombo?" Badiuddin replied, "No, I never met him outside in public."
Now, the Attorney General has informed the Court of Appeal that the Criminal Investigation Department has not refused permission for lawyers to meet Hijaz Hizbullah, who is currently being held in connection with the Easter Sunday terror attacks. The petition filed seeking a court order on the director of CID to grant permission for Hizbullah to access his lawyers was taken up before Appeals Court Justices Priyantha Fernando and Sobhita Rajakarna today. President's Counsel Romesh De Silva, appearing on behalf of the petitioner, claimed that the CID has not provided an opportunity for Hijaz Hizbullah's lawyers to meet him. However, representing the Attorney General, Additional Solicitor General Susantha Balapatimendi said that the CID has not refused permission for Hizbullah to meet with his lawyers. Now, the Telecommunications Regulatory Commission of Sri Lanka warns the public that unapproved mobile devices with a SIM will be disconnected. The Commission urges the public to purchase only TRCSL-approved telecommunication devices that are operated with a SIM. Members of the public are also urged to check whether the serial number issued by the TRCSL is available before purchasing such equipment. The TRCSL said that an SMS can be sent to the number 1909 after typing IMEI space followed by the 15-digit IMEI number to verify the serial number. Those engaging the service have to then follow the instructions of the TRCSL's reply SMS. The regulator, however, noted that this will not be applicable to the telecommunication equipment operated with a SIM card currently connected in the cellular mobile operators network. We will see you shortly after this break. Bear with us.
Ceylon Bank, the bank with a heart.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, with the annual celestial lights display of the Geminid's meteor shower reaching optimum visibility today, Sri Lankans will be able to witness this phenomenon for the second consecutive day tonight. The Geminid meteor shower occurs each year in December when the Earth passes through a dust trail from the asteroid Python 3200. The debris from the asteroid enters the upper atmosphere of Earth and burns up, making the meteor shower visible to Earth in a multitude of colors. According to astrologists, the Geminid meteor shower reaches its optimum visibility on the 13th and the 14th of December. The best viewing time for the meteor shower is between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. Coupled with tonight's new moon and clear skies, the people of Sri Lanka and across the world will be able to witness the meteor shower by observing the northeastern skies. Now, in other stories, Attorney General Dappula de Oliveira says that his department is not responsible for the overcrowding of prisons since the relevant guidelines had been issued to the police as far back as April that were not implemented. He made these comments while addressing the opening ceremony of the new Attorney General's Department office building this morning.
I have advised the police on an umpteen number of occasions during this pandemic, twice to reduce the overcrowding in prisons. I gave advice in April, strict, precise guidelines, and for reasons which are unknown to me, those guidelines, those instructions were not implemented by the IGP. But unfortunately, this situation may not have been as grave if my advice was carried out in April. I gave comprehensive advice on drug cases as well as other crime, on two fronts, which was not carried out in April. But I thank the Minister for intervening in November. And on that occasion, the police have now started and they are implementing our advice. And we are not responsible for the overcrowding in prisons. We are not responsible. The responsibility lies elsewhere. I respond to matters of public importance because it is important to the public that we act fast and properly. And the rule of law cannot be upheld unless these public institutions enjoy the public confidence. We live on the public purse and we are accountable to the public.
Meanwhile, Minister of Justice Ali Sabri says that measures are underway to increase the number of judicial officers per 1 million people in order to streamline the judiciary.
Good countries in the world have about 200 judicial officers for 1 million people. Middle-income countries like Malaysia and Thailand have about 65, 68. Even India, with such a large population, have 20 judges for 1 million population. Unfortunately, Sri Lanka has 15 judges per 1 million population. So that is a massive issue. So we need to address this. No point of beating the bush and passing the ball to someone else. We have to have the overall approach to the whole thing. So we have decided as a government and in my presentation to the cabinet, we must make it at least double the number within the next 5 years. My effort is to make it in 3 years. So it's the first step that we did it from the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal, and eventually I'm hoping one of these days we'll be making a presentation to His Lordship the Chief Justice and the Judicial Service Commission as to where our first year the increments will come and new courts will be established. So with the blessings of the JSC, we would like to work as a team to achieve this one. We are very serious on digitalizing the entire court system in this country. We are in the process of working with the ICTA and so many others, and we'll probably roll out the map from next year onwards to go for a long-term digitalization of the procedure, including virtual court hearing.
Now, the Malaysian High Commissioner in Colombo, Tang Yang Tai, had paid a courtesy call on Foreign Minister Dinesh Gunawardena at the Foreign Ministry recently. While commenting that all countries are struggling to stay afloat amidst the raging COVID-19 virus, which continues to claim a heavy toll in the economies, the High Commissioner has commented, or more like commended, the policies implemented by Sri Lanka to tackle the spread of the virus. Now, the Malaysian High Commissioner had further noted that Malaysia will continue to support the ASEAN centrality and the recently signed Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership expected to facilitate the Southeast Asian economies to return to normalcy, overcoming the contagion in the post-COVID-19 era. Foreign Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, meanwhile, had highlighted that he is optimistic that Sri Lanka and Malaysia could gear up its cooperation in multifarious fields at the beginning of next year by holding bilateral political consultations. Both dignitaries had agreed that there is immense potential for Sri Lanka to expand trade with Malaysia, in particular agriculture-based industries. Now, the Malaysian High Commissioner has also assured that Malaysia will continue to support Sri Lanka in the regional and international fora. Minister Gunawardena reiterated that Sri Lanka expects to build a strong bond with the ASEAN community during his tenure and highlighted that Sri Lanka expects to become a sectoral dialogue partner of ASEAN. We will see you shortly. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, Sri Lanka's trade deficit had narrowed in October this year to $514 million from $838 million in the same month last year, with import expenditure decline outpacing the decline in export earnings. At the end of the month, the island's gross official reserve had been at $5.9 billion after the repayment of the $1 billion international sovereign bond.
The central bank's latest data shows that a deficit of $514 million was recorded in the trade account for October 2020, significantly lower than the deficit of $838 million recorded in October 2019. The cumulative deficit in the trade account from January to October 2020 narrowed to $4.852 billion from the deficit of $6.451 billion recorded in the same period in 2019. Further, earnings from merchandise exports in October 2020 were lower compared to last year as well as September 2020 due to disruptions to production and support services. As a result, earnings from exports in October 2020 amount to $848 million, 13.2% lower than October 2019 and 15.2% lower than September 2020. In addition, export earnings from agricultural goods increased marginally by 0.6% in October 2020 on a year-on-year basis, led by coconut exports, spices and natural rubber. Further, earnings from tea exports declined by 1.4% due to the decline in the volume of tea exports, although unit values increased. Expenditure on the importation of consumer goods in October 2020 was lower by 34.4% compared to October 2019, mainly owing to the decline in the import of motor vehicles for personal use. Further, expenditure on the import of food and beverages declined by 4.7%. Workers' remittances also continued to increase for the fifth consecutive month, recording a year-on-year growth of 3.9% in October 2020 to $631 million.
Now, the central bank has directed the licensed commercial banks and National Savings Bank to suspend the purchase of Sri Lanka international sovereign bonds for a period of 6 months unless such purchase is funded by new foreign currency inflows to such licensed banks sourced from abroad. The central bank states that the move was to ease the pressure on the exchange rate and the stress on financial markets due to the impact of the COVID-19 outbreak, and the direction will be implemented with immediate effect. Shares ended higher for a 15th straight session today, buoyed by gains in consumer staples and healthcare stocks. Now, the all-share price index gained 0.64% or 42.08 points to close at 6,560.64, while the S&P SL20 index of more liquid stocks gained 0.26% or 6.84 points to 2,634.65. Now, here's Dimantha Matthew with a brief report on today's market performance.
Today, the market was once again ended in the green with a gain of 42 points in the SPI. So this is the 15th consecutive occasion that the market has been in the green. So we are seeing a continuous uptrend in the overall market, one of the longest green streaks that we've seen. So with this, the buying interest has been quite strong, and if you take the turnover levels today, has been quite healthy, similar to the past few days, ending above the 2 billion mark with 2.2 billion of turnover. We are seeing a bit of slowness in activity in the retail favorite counters. In addition to that, the number of transactions are also healthy, above the 20,000 mark.
Now, taking a look at the currency market, the rupee closed weak at 187 rupees and 22 cents to the US dollar today, after closing at 186 rupees and 50 cents yesterday. Now, let's take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other major currencies during the day. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.